All right, welcome to session number 5, part 2. We've been talking about characteristics of strong families, and we're continuing along. We finished up last time on conflict resolution, so we'll start off today with spiritual well-being. So strong families have a sense of spiritual well-being. Uh, Specifically, this could involve things like praying together as a family, uh, doing family devotions together, maybe even father does a devotion with one kid at night, mother does a devotion with another child every night. This could be attending church together as a family, fellowshipping with other Christian families, um, listening to Christian music, going to see Christian movies, or even secular movies that have themes that are very consistent with our Christian faith. Serving together in ministry projects where we're helping the poor and the needy could be another great way of building family cohesion, and also teaching our children about the value and the worthwhileness of thinking about others first before themselves. That's a very good lesson for kids to learn. And then giving. Teaching children that when they get an allowance, for instance, to first give a portion of that allowance back to God in some way. And obviously, for the younger the child is, the more tangible and concrete you want to make that giving. There's all kinds of opportunities to do that. Churches have all kinds of programs. We sponsor a child, 2 children actually, through World Vision. So that's one way to do it. There's the shoebox ministry. There's Christmas types of giving opportunities with toys and things like that too. So really teaching them the value of giving is also very good for the overall spiritual well-being of the family. The next one is enjoyable time together, and the healthy families spend time together laughing, having fun, enjoying each other's company, and play is probably the best way to do this. And so finding ways that the whole family can play together, and kids just love it when mom and dad play with them and not just set up a play date for them and then sit on the bench and watch, but actually get in there with the kids doing the play activity. So for instance, if you're taking your kids swimming, to actually jump in the pool with them and throw the ball around and play with them. If you're taking them to the park to play baseball or basketball, or to go on the playground with them. At home, you can have, there's games, card games, board games that kids love to play with their parents. There's different sporting activities that you can do if you're so inclined to do that. One of the things I love doing with my son is taking him down to the driving range and hitting golf balls, and then going to the putting green and putting. And it's just a fun way to play golf together without all the stress and the tiredness that comes from walking an entire golf course. And then with the younger children, to engage in imaginary play. Is very important for their growth and their development. And imaginary play where they get to lead the play and you follow. So often throughout the day, they are the ones that are being told what to do. But imaginary play is a time where they get to lead the play. So I can remember playing with my daughter when she was younger with My Little Ponies or Groovy Girl dolls, or different things like that. So I think that play can also be very helpful. Then we have vacations, taking vacations together, and going on family vacations, summer vacations, um, winter vacations, even weekend vacations, doing outdoor activities together, such as motocross riding is something that we like to do together as a family. Where we go out, ride our dirt bikes, we camp out together, set up a fire, sit around the fire at night, talk together as a family. So doing something together as a family outdoors is a wonderful way to build family cohesion. And then having family rituals and traditions, things that you can count on. Like Friday night is pizza night or board game night. Uh, Traditions for Christmas that we always go Christmas caroling, or we always have a particular group of people that we serve on Christmas. Uh, we have a tradition of going camping on the weekend after Labor Day or something like that, where something that is predictable and the children can rely on. It's planned, and it's something that really helps children to feel more secure, is to have traditions and rituals. And then social events, doing things socially, fellowshipping with other families, going out to dinner with other families, hanging out at one another's houses, having potlucks together, traveling together. Other things that you can do that are really win-win situations. The children, your children, get an opportunity to interact with adults from other families, and that can benefit them and cause them to grow even more. Okay, we're going to go to the next slide and start with ability to manage stress and crisis. So here we're talking about a family's ability to be flexible. This is what you need in a stressful situation or a situation of crisis. The Chinese have a pictograph for crisis that means danger plus opportunity. So when the family encounters crisis or a very stressful situation, can they be flexible enough to adapt to that stress or that crisis? Can they see the opportunity in the crisis to grow closer to God and to grow closer to one another? And do they have the coping factors necessary to deal with that crisis? Do they have the endurance? Do they have the resiliency? Are they able to see trials as opportunities for character growth? Can they push forward rather than give up? And so in healthy families, there's a different view of crisis as opportunities, and do they seize those opportunities? Then I put growth promoting parenting. You know, healthy families parent in a way that leads to the growth of their children. The Bible says in Proverbs 22:6 to train a child up according to his or her way. And so the idea is that God has created our children with a particular path in mind. And our job is to not prepare the path for our child, but rather to prepare our child for their path. And so we want to discern what God's will is for their life, not determine what God's will is for their life. So we, through prayer and listening to God and watching and observing our children, we discern who God has called them to be, and then we do everything in our power as parents to promote that process. Some general things I think as parenting that are very helpful to build responsibility in children would be giving them chores to do, regular chores, to give them opportunities for learning, to show them the world, to give them more experiences and maybe less material things, so that maybe you're deciding to spend your money on providing experiences that can broaden their horizons and help them expand their worldview. Providing good teachers, a good education for them. Providing good coaching if they're doing an activity or a task that requires coaching. And great instruction. Instruction in the home by the parents, but also if they are seeking out instruction outside the home, to make sure that it's a quality instruction. I also believe strongly in the notion of giving your children an allowance at home. I think that teaches them how to delay gratification, tolerate frustration. It teaches them how to manage their money, how to understand the value of a dollar. Doing their own homework is also very helpful for children. I believe that it's better for them to struggle through their own homework, especially when they're school age. And maybe they don't get every problem, but that's not the goal. The goal is for them to engage in the struggle, to think critically. And you can help them with their homework without doing their homework for them. Uh, and then giving them responsibility to do things for themselves that they can do for themselves. So there are times where there are things your children cannot do for themselves and they do legitimately need your help. But you always have to be thinking as a parent, is the thing that I'm doing for my child, is this something that they really can be doing for themselves? And at what time do I need to step back and step away and let my child do these things for themselves? Okay, the next characteristic is called differentiation. And this is a fancy psychological term that basically means that family members are responding in a more autonomous manner to one another and a less automatic manner toward one another. So an automatic manner would be to just act or to speak before you think. And this can cause escalation in families. This can cause increase in family stress, family conflict, misunderstanding. However, what we want to do is be autonomous. We don't want our reaction to another family member to be a knee-jerk reaction or a reflexive reaction. We want to stop and think and ask ourselves the question, what is the wise thing to do? What is the kind thing to do? What is the honoring and respectful thing to do? And then behave so that your actions become autonomous. They're independent and you're not just responding automatically to what other family members are doing. The next characteristic is called self-delineation. And this is where family members feel free to ask for what they need, what they would like. So they are able to assert themselves. They're not passively holding in their requests because they're afraid of being rejected or being shamed for having a request or a need, or being ignored. And those are very legitimate fears that some people and families have. But instead they feel comfortable enough and safe enough to say, hey, this is what I would like. And it could be a parent asking a child for something. Hey, I need you to be patient here with this. I need you to wait. I would like it if you could say thank you to me when I take you out to lunch. And it could be a child speaking to a parent. I'd like for you to listen to me when I tell you my story. I'd like for you to look at my art project, when I ask you to look at it. So in healthy families, these requests are very common. Family members cannot read each other's minds. They don't always know, without being asked, what it is that other family members need. And through self-delineation, you're much more likely to get your needs met. Jesus said, you have not because you ask not. And so this principle of asking can be very helpful in families. Okay, the next characteristic is care and consideration. And this is where family members care for one another. They take into account one another's needs. They take requests seriously, and they consider meeting the requests of other family members. And they even at times can anticipate the needs of various family members and offer help and offer assistance. So there's assistance mutually for family members toward one another. Then we have clear boundaries. So in healthy families, there's a clear boundary between the parents and the children. The children are in the role of children and do things that children are required to do. Parents do things that parents are required to do. And that boundary line is not crossed. In unhealthy families, you have children doing parenting and you have parents acting like children. Well, you need parents to be adults and you need kids to be kids. And so you have to have clear boundaries for that to happen. You also want to have a clear boundary inside the family and outside the family. So there needs to be a clear boundary of what is kept within the family and not shared with the outside world, and also within family members, what is private and what is not private. And so you want to be very clear about, we can be close and we can be connected, but we can have certain areas of privacy. The other thing in terms of boundaries you want to avoid is unhealthy coalitions. And commonly what you might see is one child siding with the mom, the other child siding with the father. And this can especially be a risk in divorced and separated families. So you want the parents to present a united front and not have an unhealthy alliance with one child over and against another child. Then in terms of boundaries, you want to have openness to the ideas that the children have, and you want to have an increasing openness as they get older. But you still want to send the clear message that parents are clearly in charge. All right, the next characteristic is called affective responsiveness. And this relates to the family's ability to respond with feelings that fit a particular situation. An example would be that if your child is crying and they're sad, you're not responding with humor, you're not responding with sarcasm or irritation or annoyance at their crying. You're able to respond in a way that comforts the child and consoles them. And the Bible teaches for us to rejoice with those who rejoice and to mourn with those who mourn. So there's a synchrony between the emotional response that you give and what you're seeing in your child. And another great way to be affectively responsible and responsive to your children is to just say what you see going on inside of them, to say what you see them experiencing. So if you can see that your child is anxious, you say, I can see that you're feeling anxious, rather than relax. If you see that your child is feeling sad, you say, I see that this is really making you sad, rather than cheer up. So even though you might have good intentions for saying relax, cheer up, calm down, usually that's going to shut down the child. And the reason for that is that they're not feeling felt by you. The feelings that they're having, they're not seeing that you're feeling them. In fact, they're actually seeing that you're uncomfortable with those feelings. You're so uncomfortable that you're actually directing them in an opposite direction. Cheer up, calm down. So instead of doing that, you want to validate what they're feeling, because that validates their sense of self-worth, that what they're feeling matters, it counts. And this is, again, one of the most common problems I see with adults, that as children they did not feel that they had a right to feel what they felt. Then we have affective involvement, and this refers to the interest and appreciation that you might have for the activities of individual family members. You want to be involved in their activities. You want to attend their games, attend their competitions, go to their recitals, go to their plays, their events, take an interest, ask them how things went, learn about their lives and what they're doing, especially if it's an interest or an avocation that you may not even share. You really want to convey the message that you're interested in your child and their interests, and you're not just going to respond when their interests parallel your interests. And then lastly, we have secure attachment. You want your children to feel securely attached to you, that they have a secure base from which to launch into the world and explore and be independent, and that you also are a safe haven for your children, a place where they can always return to when they're feeling lonely, when they're feeling discouraged, when they're feeling that life is difficult. They have a safe haven that they can return to and fill up their bucket, in a sense, on love and nurture and support and value. And as a family, the family becomes that shelter from the storms of life. And when a child can rely on a family to serve that function, that's going to be a more secure child. So that does it for Strong Families. I hope you've enjoyed that. We'll see you for session 6.